let's bring in Senator Marsha Blackburn. We also are joined as well with former HUD Secretary Dr. Ben Carson. It's great to have you both on. Okay, Senator, you were probably just coming off the floor because we're going to monitor the procedural vote as the Democrats push to try to get rid of the filibuster to enact their vote reform bill. Senator, the president made an eye-opening comment of this, that he basically said he will not say if the midterms would be free and fair if the Democrats' vote bill reform does not get enacted. What was your reaction to that?
Well, Liz, thanks for letting me join you today. What we have to realize is that this press conference that he gave was really kind of divorced from reality of what is happening in the country. And when it comes to elections, for him to say, unless we federalize elections, in essence, is what they're doing. This is a federal takeover of elections. Then elections might not be free and fair. Now, the bill that they are pushing today would institutionalize mail-out voting. It would make certain that ballot harvesting was legal. It would do away with voter ID and signature matches and would require the federal government to help support the races of congressional candidates with taxpayer dollars. You raise $1, the government will give you 6 taxpayer dollars for your race. This is not what the American people want. It is why the polling is so bad on Joe Biden, and people don't believe what he is saying because they know as long as their friends and neighbors are helping with the elections at their local county election polling place, as long as their state legislature is doing their constitutional duty, they feel like they can trust those elections. And if they don't, they know where to go and complain. It's why states have updated their laws, their election laws this year. It is their constitutional duty.
And Dr. Ben Carson, to the senator's point, there's also this. The president claimed the biggest single-year job gain on record, but made no mention that's an artificial pop after lockdowns and shutdowns destroyed more than 22 million jobs. We're nearly 4 million jobs short versus pre-pandemic. But let's stay on what the senator was just talking about. He attacked a reporter who was asking him, why did you cite Bull Connor and why did you cite George Wallace in your voting speech, vote reform speech the other day? You know, Dr. Carson, if voter ID is so racist and so anti-democratic, why does Europe have voter ID? Why do we have identification to go to the doctor's office, pick up packages from the post office, buy cigarettes? Is that all racist?
Virtually anything that you do in public requires some type of identification now. And of course, voter ID is not racist. And I think the polls have demonstrated that 70 to 80% of the American population believes that. So as Senator Blackburn was saying, I think sometimes the policies that we're hearing come from this administration are in an alternate universe. It just doesn't congeal with reality. And I think they're making a mistake by believing that the American people are so simple that you can simply say something and they won't believe their eyes, they'll listen to you.
We hear you, Dr. Carson. You know, Senator Joe Manchin said we already have laws to make sure people have voting rights, Senator Blackburn. We know that there's a procedural vote going on right now about getting rid of the filibuster to enact vote reform. The Senator Manchin is saying we're not going to obstruct people from voting. That's not going to happen. So your reaction to that, because Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Sinema are getting slammed as racist over this.
Yes, and what we have to realize is that the American people, and indeed the Tennesseans that I'm talking to, say make it easier to vote, harder to cheat. That is important. That's what they want to see. But all of this is about blowing up the filibuster, blowing up the rules of the Senate, blowing up the rule of law so that the Democrats can do what Barack Obama said they wanted to do, which is to radically transform this country. They have a very narrow window. They know they're going to lose the elections in November. So what are they doing? They are ready to say, okay, we're going to blow up the filibuster so we can do the Green New Deal, so that we can pack the courts, so we can do D.C. statehood, so we can raise your taxes. That is not what the American people are wanting. And this is why, Liz, you're seeing this resistance. His polling numbers are worse for him every single day.
Right.
Obviously, they don't show those numbers to him.
Yeah, we got CBS, half the country, Dr. Carson, saying he's making the wrong decisions on key issues, making the pandemic worse, making the economy worse. Half of the voters in a Politico new poll, Dr. Carson, saying that he's not, quote, not mentally fit to lead. That's brutal stuff. He's at the lowest job approval besides President Trump since JFK. So, you know, we have, you know, these comments coming out of the Democrats, like Hakeem Jeffries of New York, saying Democrats' federal elections takeover bill is inspired by Hugo Chavez. That's what he said today, Dr. Carson. And, you know, by the way, Obama, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, Biden, Kamala Harris, all supported the filibuster. This is like crazy town, what we're dealing with right now.
Well, the hypocrisy is palpable. And I think that's what the American people are responding to. As I said, they're not stupid by any stretch of the imagination. And you look at the way that COVID is being handled. I mean, it's very obvious that it's becoming more attenuated, the virus, much weaker. Yet it still confers immunity against some of the previous strains. That's a wonderful thing, actually. They're not grasping that. They're not dealing with natural immunity. And of course, the reason they won't deal with natural immunity is because it eliminates the compulsion to inject everybody with this virus. So they're not going to recognize anything that gets in the way of that, because it's a tremendous mechanism to be able to control people. And I think sometimes some of the politicians just are drunk on power, and they stop thinking about what's good for the people. You look at what's happening to our children by not being in school. I mean, it is devastating, and that's going to have a very long-term impact.
Got it. Thanks for rocking and rolling with us, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Dr. Ben Carson. It was real fun to have you on the show at this in this hour, and thank you, Larry Kudlow, for joining us at the top. That was a fun segment. We're going to maybe do it again. Okay, thanks for joining us. Come back soon.